Undroppables Playbook, a football podcast. With your hosts, Ashley and Michael, please sit back and enjoy the show.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Undroppables Playbook, a football podcast presented by the Undroppables and sponsored by Analyst Depot. I am one of your hosts, Ashley. This is my lovely co-host, Michael Duncan. How are you tonight?
I am doing well. I'm glad to be back, and I actually have a little bit of breaking news for you, Ashley.
Okay.
This very second, as I was tagged in it. According to a study done by gambling.com, Giants fans were ranked as the least intelligent fan base in the NFL. So
Interesting.
there you go.
I did probably contribute to that just a little bit. Just a little.
Should I play the clip?
No, it's okay.
Are you sure?
We are on a time.
It's been a couple months.
It's okay. It's okay. Welcome back. We did take a brief hiatus. Thank you for joining us again. I will be open and honest. I needed a little bit of a break. I suffered from a little bit of burnout. But with the off season, it was a good time to take a quick break, reset. And now we're back in the swing of things. We are getting ready for training camp for almost everyone now. A couple of teams have been at training camp for a couple days. I know teams like the Cowboys started today or tomorrow. The Patriots start this week. It's a whole bunch of stuff going on. Lots of signings and stuff, too.
Eagles started today.
Did
We are recording this on Tuesday. This will be going live on Wednesday
Yep.
/ Thursday for podcast. Possibly. I don't know. Depends on when I get around to it. But yes, the Eagles started training camp today. So yeah. I'm excited to get back into football. And well, I never really left, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's get started. We can talk about what the hot topic has been for quite some time now. And that is the running back market do we want to you put something above it? Do you want to start with that first?
It's going to be a shorter conversation.
Okay,
so
go ahead.
Not the hot topic that's been a hot topic for a while, but
we'll
actually just something that's been a hot topic for like an hour as of recording this. And that is Justin Herbert getting paid. He got $262 million, I believe. So etching out Lamar Jackson by, I believe, $2 million over, what is it, a 5-year contract?
5 years. So he still has 2 years left on his rookie deal, and this is adding 5 years to that.
Yes. Not surprising. Everyone kind of knew this was coming when Jalen Hurts signed his deal. He was kind of the first domino. Lamar Jackson definitely being the biggest question mark in that whole landscape. Jalen Hurts was Lamar was really on the biggest clock, seeing that, everything that we don't have to rehash that. But Jalen Hurts being drafted in the second round didn't have the 5th-year option that Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow have. So Justin Herbert got it done kind of a year earlier than he had to, and I'm sure it makes him feel better. It makes the Chargers feel better knowing they've got him locked up. They obviously have no questions about, whether or not they should be doing this. They're doing it. Great. But that really just leaves Joe Burrow. Justin Herbert will enjoy being on the top of the pay mountaintop for probably a week or however long Joe Burrow wants to let him be there, because he will surely break this.
Yeah, this is a game that they just the game is get paid more than everyone else, and it seems to be working out for the guys who are getting paid a little bit later. He is getting paid $100 million in the first year, which tops the previous high of $80 million. He gets 218.7 in guarantees on his 5-year out of the 262.5. So he does have a really high amount of guarantees on there, which is obviously something we've seen more conversation about, and a spike in after Deshaun Watson was paid a fully guaranteed contract by the Browns, who are now posting clips of him throwing passes into a net from 5 yards out as a highlight.
Did you see the clip of him talking to the media about
where he said
we're not going to get into it, but just be self-aware, dude. I don't know. Just be aware.
Yeah.
Obviously,
you can benefit from being in 24/7 media training.
Yeah, or just I would prefer 24/7 therapy, but not great stuff. I don't know. Hard to deal with if you're a Browns fan, I would assume. But I don't know many of them, to be honest.
No, I don't think there are as many left.
No. But now, we can get on to the actual hot topic. It has been the hot topic, and it's still got recent developments, but it's been the topic for the past couple weeks.
Yeah, and that is obviously the running back market. So a lot of this conversation started to get rehashed after the Giants failed to strike a deal with Saquon Barkley and the Raiders failed to strike a deal with Josh Jacobs before the deadline of, I think, the 17th, which is when they have to either
And the
the franchise
Cowboys
tag.
with Tony Pollard.
And the Cowboys with Tony Pollard. So as a reminder, the franchise tag for running backs is $10.1 million. As of this morning, Saquon did agree to a 1-year deal. I didn't know this was an option, but Ian Rappaport says when a player doesn't do a long-term deal by the mid-July deadline, the only option is a 1-year deal. The two sides can negotiate that 1-year franchise tag into a 1-year new contract. It's very rare, but that is what happened in this circumstance. Saquon Barkley's deal is a 1-year deal worth up to $11 million, so he can make up to $1 million more. But he does have a $2 million signing bonus and $909,000 worth of incentives, one of which is tied to the Giants having a playoff berth, receptions, and touchdowns. A big factor here is his deal did not include any language which excludes him from being franchise tagged next season, which players do incorporate into contracts. What I do want to point out is what the Giants, what the reporting came out that the Giants and Saquon Barkley couldn't, when negotiating before that mid-July deadline, couldn't overcome a difference of $2 million between like their long-term extension of him. But it sparked serious conversation. If a $2 million difference couldn't be overcome, if you can't pay guys like Josh Jacobs, who led the league in rushing last year, what does that mean for the future of running backs and how they're paid? This sparked a lot of conversation from running backs themselves. Austin Eckler, Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey all chimed in on Twitter. Several took to podcasts and media. Eckler said on Rich Eisen talking about how he finds it crazy how third-string wide receivers are making more money than starting running backs. It's said that many of the league's top running backs were invited on a Zoom call last week to discuss the current market. There were unconfirmed reports where they were talking about kind of holding out for longer if you have an injury, like staying off the field for longer.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of what was said doesn't come out in that meeting, but they did have a confirmed meeting between top running backs. Other running back decreases in cuts this season. Cowboys cut Ezekiel Elliott. Buccaneers cut Leonard Fournette. The Browns didn't re-sign Kareem Hunt. Bengals, Joe Mixon, and Packers Aaron Jones took some pretty big pay cuts. Henry and Jones had no trade market value. You sent me a tweet about Saquon Barkley not really having a trade value either. So we just kind of see the league as a whole devaluing the running back position. And then again, it sparks huge conversation.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously a lot to say about this topic, and there's a lot that's already been said, and there's a lot of stuff that is going to continue to be said. And the reality is the running backs, the reason they're upset is because when you look at every franchise tag number, which is based on a percentage of the league's top earners, that's how they decide what the franchise tag value is worth. When you look at that over the past however many years, the only number for a position for a franchise tag value to go down is running backs. Even kickers and punters have gone up. And I don't know if anyone has ever franchise tagged a punter, but yeah. And that basically means, you know, the simple of that is running backs are getting paid less now at the top than they were 5-10 years ago, roughly. And with the salary cap going up, like it's just not normal to see. But the reality is that there's no reason to pay a running back that much money. It's just if you play a position like running back where it doesn't matter how good you are because it doesn't seem to contribute to Super Bowl winning football, which there's no proof that it does. In terms of your value over who would replace you, why would you pay them? I mean,
I left a note in there that says since 2013, no Super Bowl winning team has paid its top rusher more than $2.5 million, and the average is 1.4.
I mean, you look at the two teams that were in it last year. The Chiefs had taken Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the first round. He was not even a factor. It was Isaiah Pacheco, who was, a late round draft pick. It's Jerick McKinnon, who most people thought was dead. And then you look at the Eagles, Miles Sanders was on the last year of a rookie contract. And then they had Kenny Gainwell, who was a day 3 rookie pick. Boston Scott, who was just I believe a restricted free agent making next to no money. And Trey Sermon, who was cut from the 49ers practice squad and landed with the Eagles. Like, where's the value? And I get it. I understand from a human perspective why running backs are upset, because they're seeing everyone else just constantly go up in value. These quarterbacks are constantly topping each other in the money they're making. These wide receivers, Austin Eckler on Rich Eisen's podcast says he thinks it's crazy how there's third string wide receivers that are making more money than starting running backs. And that's true, but it's also just a testament to what the NFL is right now. It's an NFL that doesn't value a player at that position. It values reality, which is these quarterbacks are going to be throwing to their third weapons, and having a good third weapon is more valuable than having a star running back. Look at what the Chargers, for instance, with Austin Eckler just did in the first round. They already have Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, and they said, no, we're going to go draft Quentin Johnson with a first-round pick because that matters. The Chiefs, well, the Chiefs are kind of they're not a good example, but they continue trying to put people around. Like, they are constantly making moves, whether or not they're the best players. They're getting the Juju Smith-Schusters, the Mecole Hardmans, the oh my God, the dude from the Packers whose name I'm just not going to Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and obviously they're paying Travis Kelce. They didn't want to pay Tyreek Hill top of the money, but they're still putting a lot of money into it. And what have they done at the running back position since drafting Clyde Edwards-Helaire? Nothing. They drafted Isaiah Pacheco. They signed Jerick McKinnon. They don't care. And rarely does it matter. I mean, one of the very few recent instances of a team highly investing in a running back is the Niners trading for Christian McCaffrey. And it's not even them signing it. It's trading him knowing what he's getting paid and giving up decent draft capital to do that, which you look at it, and this says everything you need to, like, it kind of says everything, which is you're looking at it as a football fan, you're like, holy crap, the 49ers just got a lot scarier. But that was a really dumb move. And the reason is because their running game is already one of the best in the NFL because of Kyle Shanahan and that offensive line and Kyle Juszczyk. And it kind of doesn't matter who's running the ball for them. As we've seen clearly over the past 5 years, it doesn't matter. They've had a top running game. They've had one of the best running backs in the NFL just because of what their running game is. And yeah, you had Christian McCaffrey to that. You're like, holy crap, that's dangerous. But like, what did it get them? Now they're like, part of it is they don't know who their quarterback is. I mean, they think it's Brock Purdy. We'll see. And they're surrounding him with as much talent as possible in George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel. But like, in a year, Christian McCaffrey is either not going to be on that team or they're going to be regretting paying him that much money. I mean, there's so many examples of it. No one wants to pay these running backs, and that's just reality. It's not worth it.
Yeah, so you and I had a conversation last week for like an hour, and it did help to kind of reframe a couple of the thoughts I had. And I know a lot of it comes from just like not being an analyst and someone who like not using as much logic and just realizing that I really love running backs and like
we all
want them to get paid. But I think you're right. The league is capitalizing on having one of its flashiest periods in time ever. It's a smart business decision. I think for me, where I struggle a lot is seeing these guys play for not much for their prime years, like their early years, not getting paid. Yeah, they're on their rookie contract. They're not getting paid enough. And then they're trying to get paid more for putting their body on the line and all this. And that bothers me, that it seems like they can't get fair pay. But you did make a point that like the money has to come from somewhere, and you have to play to the strengths of the way the league is playing. And that's what's happening right now. So I do think running backs should get paid more, but I do logically understand that at some point there has to be a break and say that this is clearly not working. Paying running backs a huge hefty amount is not working for Super Bowl chances, is clearly not our best avenue to success in the long term, because you're investing heavily in a person, in a product that doesn't have an extended shelf life, that has a fairly short shelf life. So I get both sides of it. I don't know. I'm still torn on it. I think you made a lot of really good arguments last week that helped put me more towards the middle than I was.
Yeah, I wish I had some of those arguments now. I feel like I'm blanking, but I did remember.
Your one was about 3-point shooters.
Yeah, no, that's actually exactly where I was about to go. This is kind of what this kind of brought me clarity a couple days ago, or whenever we were talking, which is, like 30 years ago in the NBA, like a guy like Seth Curry, not Steph, but Seth Curry, would probably not even be in the NBA. Because he does not play defense. He's not tall. He's not fast. But gosh dang it, can he shoot the 3-point ball? And guess what? That didn't exist in the NBA 20, 30 years ago. Like, it's that argument of Michael Jordan not being able to play in today's NBA because he can't shoot the 3. Well, he probably would have figured it out. But it just wasn't a thing. It was not a key to success the way it is now. And you're seeing guys like Seth Curry get millions in like 3 year, $30 million, $40 million, George Niang. And yes, I'm just naming guys that played for the Sixers because we suck and I hate everything. But then you're looking at guys like Andre Drummond, Montrezl Harrell, again, just naming Joel Embiid's backups that are terrible. But these centers that are good centers, but they don't do the things that today's NBA is predicated on, which is shoot the 3. They're old-fashioned. They're throwback centers, guys that would play with Shaquille O'Neal. And yes, Shaquille O'Neal would have been fine in today's NBA, but that's because he's one of one. He is the 1% of those, of just a specimen that is able to play the game in this certain way. That's why Derrick Henry is Derrick Henry. Most running backs are not playing the way he plays and lasting as long as he's lasting. But 20 years ago, George Niang is not getting the money that he's getting in today's NBA because his skill set of just simply being able to shoot the 3. Duncan Robinson's another one who has a ridiculously big contract for just shooting the 3. That's all he does. He's not playing defense. He's not really passing the ball. He's shooting the 3. It is so valuable. And that's why in today's NFL, third wide receivers on a team are making more than a running back. Because that's what the game is right now. 30 years ago, you'd pay Andre Drummond a near max, amount of money to get him to be the center on your team that's just going to stand in the paint and play, tough, hard-nosed basketball and whatever. He's going to bully his way in. But you're looking at the top centers now. They're not doing that. Yeah, Joel Embiid does some of it. But he's also, again, he's one of one. He's ridiculously talented in so many ways. He plays incredible defense. Derrick Henry is one of one, and they don't even really want to pay him anymore. They're willing to use him because he's still great, but most don't last that long. It's just, it's an evolution of the game. The difference is in the NBA, you're not kind of losing a whole position, let alone a position that in high school and college is kind of like the star in a lot of ways.
Most high schools, their first options are running backs. If you're not like those deep California or Texas teams that are, heavily recruited out of high school, as your freshman year, where you're going to college, then your first option is running back, which was going to be my next point. Is I'm really intrigued because the NFL, all the way down to like Pop Warner football, have an incredibly symbiotic relationship. Yeah. Even just down to what parents let their kids play, right? So when you're a kid, and right now, do you want your kid to play running back? No. If there's some chance that they're going to be really good at what they do and they're going to go to the NFL and live out their dreams, do you want them to play that position? No. So then you get into this phase where this role is going to decrease for an extended period of time, which is what I see coming. I mean, you and I had the conversation about the Ravens hiring an offensive coordinator who's incredibly pass heavy, which is not usual for the Ravers, and we knew that. Sorry, I smushed both of their names there, and then came out with the wrong one. The Ravens.
Let's go Ravens. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I smushed them and then came out with the wrong one. Which is so unlike the Ravens. Just because that's what works in today's NFL, and their style of football wasn't meshing with the current NFL, so they have to make adjustments. And I think that you see that the evolution of the quarterback has also led us to this point, because you're going to lose market value as a running back if a quarterback can do a portion of what you can do and a whole lot more. So it's how we ended up here.
And to go along with that, like, to be a good rushing offense, it doesn't mean you need a good running back. Like, that's the other thing, is it kind of all goes back to that. It doesn't matter who's there. Like, look at the Ravens were the number 2 rushing team in terms of rush yards last season. Who were their running backs? Like, J.K. Dobbins was not there the whole year, and when he was, he did not look particularly good.
Gus Edwards, was he still there?
Yeah, Gus, he was injured too coming into the season. Like, just a whole lot of the Bears. Dave Montgomery was there. He was fine. I mean, it was Justin Fields. The Falcons. Tyler Algier. He was like a 7th round rookie, I believe, or undrafted. And they still spent a top pick on Bijan Robinson. I've spent enough time talking about how stupid that is. You've got the Giants, of course, with Saquon. Sure. Daniel Jones has a little bit of legs himself. And then you get to the Eagles, rounding out the top 5. Miles Sanders, on the last year of his rookie deal, had a great season, by far the best of his career, and he got paid. After that, and by the way, he barely played in the playoffs or the Super Bowl because they didn't trust him. It became Kenny Gainwell and Boston Scott and Jalen Hurts. And it's just, it doesn't matter. It truly does not matter who your running backs are. If you have a good scheme, and obviously a rushing quarterback helps in so many ways, but defenses they're not there. They're not game planning anymore to stop the run. Unless you're playing the Titans. And honestly, most teams are like, if you're going to beat me with the run, so be it. Like, I don't care, because it's harder to do that.
I'd rather give up 5 yards on the run than 30 yards on the pass.
It's a lot easier to score in one play on a passing play than it is a running play nowadays. So,
yep. Well, we'll move on for now. I'm sure this conversation will come up throughout the season, towards the end of the season. But that's just a glimpse at mess that is the running back market right now.
Yeah, tough time speaking.
No, I spoke correctly there.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay.
Whatever.
Don't make fun of me. I'll briefly glance over this. I'll briefly glance over this. The Jets are going to be on Hard Knocks. They were forced onto Hard Knocks. They're saying that they're going to, kind of redefine the access that Hard Knocks is going to get. They all seem very unwilling to do this. My favorite part of it is that they will no longer show footage from players being cut or traded, which I think is fantastic. That for many is the end of their dreams. So I don't really want to see someone's soul get crushed and dreams get crushed. So that's some access they'll be taking away, which I think gives a lot of dignity back to those players.
I agree completely. I do want to pull up quick. They've given us kind of like a trailer, sort of, and I want to pull that up real quick, of Zach Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. So I'm just
Aaron Rodgers, who looks like he's wearing a Halloween costume.
Always. Yeah, so they have given us a quick, like, a trailer for Hard Knocks. Let me just find this real quick. Share screen. This is... Yep.
You're a coach. You're a captain. You're a quarterback.
Hey, you haven't played in years. Why can't I be quarterback, huh?
You're right. Let's see what you got. Hit me. I'm open.
Hi.
That's why. Now sit down and shut up.
It slipped. I just ate popcorn.
So that was an interaction that they've teased between Zach Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. That came through, right?
It did, but now we're on the wrong screen. Our screen size.
Shoot. There we go. Nope, that's wrong too.
It's okay.
Anyway.
Yeah. Jets on Hard Knocks.
I did see that on Twitter. But
yes.
I do love that movie, The Longest Yard.
Yeah.
Shout out to Adam Sandler. So great movie.
Yes. One of my friends actually had an Adam Sandler themed birthday party this weekend. Evan Ingram. You want to chat real quick about Evan Ingram?
He is a tight end who signed a big contract. He was franchise tag, but he signed a big contract with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
And we are very happy for him.
Yeah, good for him. Doug Peterson likes him a tight end. So I'm happy for Doug Peterson that he got what he likes. I hope.
Yes.
I just hope he's happy. I love Doug.
I know you do.
Yeah.
If I had the I hate Joe Judge counter and the I love Doug Peterson counter, I think they're pretty even.
Well, it's just like, it's not often like obviously I love Andy, but there was definitely like a period of time where it's like, okay, it kind of went to the shitter a little bit with Andy. I always rooted for him, but with Doug, it's just like I just have happy memories. He was just a happy man who liked ice cream. Have you ever seen that compilation of him saying, "Let's go get some ice cream"?
I think so. I think you've showed that to me before.
Probably. It's one of my favorites. He ends like practices. It's like, and now let's get some ice cream. And one time he specifically is like, no, we're getting Haagen-Dazs, not that bad shit or whatever. And it's just great. I love Doug.
Stuff.
He's just a happy, happy man who's happy about things. And he brought me a Super Bowl and I love him. So, yep. Okay. I'm good on Doug for a little bit. Yep.
Okay. So we're going to move on. Today we're going to talk about some jump candidates. Some candidates. We'll start with some sophomore jump candidates. Players who are entering their sophomore year, obviously, who we think are going to have a bigger impact on the field this season. And then we're going to talk about some people who we think are going to do a little bit worse this year.
So these are people that we think are good at jumping.
Yes, very high.
Okay. My first name is B-Ball Paul. He see this. It's a very niche joke that no one is going to get unless like my cousin is listening to this, or actually Jake might get it. But B-Ball Paul is a backup player for the Sixers. His name is Basketball. But he said seriously in an interview that he wanted to increase his vert by 50 inches this offseason. And like I don't think he realized how tall that was. But he would give us like updates. He's just a very funny man, and I love him with all my heart. Out the mud, B-Ball Paul. So when
I think
you said
talk about B-Ball Paul more than like almost anyone.
He is my favorite. I have his G League jersey, and I got it custom made, so it says B-Ball Paul on the back because he was MVP of the G League, and he just got paid.
Of course, you got his jersey custom.
Yeah.
Made.
Well, because I said if he won MVP of the G League, I would buy a B-Ball Paul jersey. And I can't just say Paul. Who's Paul? No. Or sorry, it would say Reed. His last name is Reed. It would say his last name. But I wanted to say B-Ball Paul.
Speaking of jerseys, tell us about your jersey.
Oh, yeah. So shout out Scott Fish and the Scott Fish Bowl. Donate to Fantasy Cares. If you don't know what Scott Fish Bowl is, we're getting very off topic, but it's fine. It's a massive charity tournament, fantasy football tournament that Scott Fish has been doing. I think this is the 13th year, Scott Fish Bowl 13. I have a shirt downstairs. I should have worn that too. But yeah, it's just a massive charity tournament, and people try to win, and we donate to charity, and it's fun. And this year was the second year of doing live drafts with certain divisions, and it was the first year of having a Philadelphia live draft. It was awesome. Shout out to the guys that ran it. There were 4 divisions that were drafting in Philadelphia. We went to Xfinity Live right in the sports complex.
Oh, that's where you guys went?
Yep.
That's fun.
I invited you.
I know. I couldn't make it. I was in Texas.
Ew.
No, it wasn't Texas.
You weren't in Texas.
It was a graduation. Texas was last weekend. Sorry.
Yeah. But yeah, so I there was raffles. All the money went to charity. People donated these items to be raffled off. And obviously I saw a DJ Moore jersey, Carolina Panthers. I love DJ Moore, and I love the Carolina Panthers jerseys. So I put most of my tickets in that, thinking, okay, everyone's going to go for the Eagles stuff at the Philadelphia live draft. I did not win the DJ Moore, but instead the thing that I put exactly one ticket in, because I assumed I had no chance, was this very nice Jerome Brown jersey, number 99 for the Eagles. Obviously, rest in peace. His number is retired by the Eagles, an all-time great defensive tackle. Played next to Reggie White. Just an incredible player, incredible person. Gone too soon. But yeah, so now this is added to my jersey rotation. I'm very happy. I'm very satisfied. It's a little big on me, but honestly, as a defensive tackle, I wouldn't have it any other way. So
yeah,
thrilled, very surprised. Did not expect that to happen, but I'm very happy. And shout out Scott Fish. All that money went to charity. So
yes. One more thing about jerseys, those Seahawks.
Oh, yummy.
Those
Also,
are like some of the best jerseys I've seen in a really long time.
All right, well now we're on jerseys. We'll get to the main portion in a minute, but like we've gotten some really good jersey releases this offseason.
Yes,
obviously.
Colts.
Yeah, well, I don't hate the Colts. Hold on, talk about them for a minute. I want to see.
So a lot of teams are releasing their like throwback jerseys and specialty jerseys that are going to be used at select games. They're not to be worn all year long. A lot of times they'll release the games they're playing with, the jerseys they're wearing at what games. So the Seahawks came out with
Ashley is
their
frozen, and we
throwbacks.
lost her. Oh, there she is. Hi,
I'm back.
Ashley. I don't
don't know
think
where
we heard
you go.
anything you just said.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you need me to
Can you
still
just
keep
repeat
talking?
that for me?
Sure. Okay. So, obviously teams
I lost
have
her again. Oh, there she is. This is going really well.
It really is. What a great day back. I think that's probably I have like a short thunderstorm happening outside. But
That'll help.
you're like unfrozen now, so I'll try one more time. Teams have throwback jerseys. They wear at select games throughout the seasons and and specialty jerseys too. So the one I'm referring to is the Seahawks throwback jersey that they'll wear a couple times this season, which is the sexiest jersey that I've seen on an NFL field in a really long time. The Buccaneers will be wearing the creamsicles at some point throughout this year. They already announced what game. I don't remember which one it is. The Colts released one that looks denim-y. Not really a big fan.
I don't mind it. The more that I see it, the more I kind of like it. I am going to. I want to share my screen so we can.
Okay.
I don't shout out to. This is Philadelphia. Okay. Yeah. So we had a Cardinals get new uniforms. They were pretty bad overall. I was not a big fan. I don't think we can really see this. I'm going to zoom in.
Yes, thank you. That was gonna be my ask.
There we go. That's better.
They're
Yeah.
like
So
the
we
most
got.
bland jerseys ever.
And also, this was pointed out to me by my friend Hayden. Shout out to Hayden.
Mhm.
Something I never thought about was the fact that on home jerseys, typically it will have the team mascot. So it'll say, instead of Arizona, it'll say Cardinals. And on away jerseys, it would say Arizona. Because when you're home, you know where you are.
Yeah.
And when you're away, that's where you're from.
Yeah.
And I was like, that makes so much sense. And Arizona didn't do that.
It's Arizona. They have like really low public education standards.
Like, honestly, the Reds are my least favorite. I don't mind. I actually kind of like the whites. The blacks aren't bad either. But these are the beautiful Seahawks, 90s throwbacks. They are just delicious in every way.
Yeah.
And
I love that color palette. Like, the colors are just more vibrant. It's so beautiful.
It is nice. My personal pick for favorite non-Eagles jerseys. Love me some creamsicles.
Do love a creamsicle.
I love the creamsicles. Oh, yummy. Give me creamsicles and the Kelly green. Yummy. So these have not been announced yet. This is actually not real. This is just, it's not real. The Eagles Twitter is trolling Eagles fans on a daily basis. And it's infuriating. But if you want entertainment, go to any Eagles Twitter tweet, or I guess Eagles X. account, tweet.
Zeet. Go to their Zeet.
Oh my God, I hate Elon Musk. Go to them and just look at the replies to everything. Everything they're posting is just like, you guys think we forgot, don't you? And it's like, I wonder if he's thinking about other girls. And then he's like, I wonder when the Eagles are going to drop the Kelly Greens.
Yeah.
Like, it's that. Yeah. So I just want to see them. The Browns got the alternate white helmets, and they're going to wear them with the white jerseys. The Vikings got an interesting throwback that I kind of forgot about.
Mm-hmm.
It's not drastic.
It's
it looks nice.
It's
just, it's not crazy. I love this alternate helmet. I love that old logo. I die for the Honolulu blue of the Lions. This one's a new one. Again,
causing a lot of controversy.
Yeah, if you're listening, I'm sorry. Google these and look these up as we're talking about them.
This is the Tennessee Titans. This was a troll. Did you know that?
What?
The caption on it. So they had released like a teaser. They had released a teaser that they were going to be wearing Oilers jerseys. Yeah. And someone said, do they even have oil derricks in Tennessee? Like an oil derrick. And then they tweeted oil derrick spelled like Derrick Henry.
I'm not smart enough to get that. So thank you for explaining it to me.
Welcome.
But yeah, there's, a lot of controversy about whether or not this should belong to the Tennessee Titans or the Houston Texans. Obviously, used to be the Houston Oilers. We're not going to get into that. The Indiana Knights. I like the heather of fabric, like I
like the heather on like a casual t-shirt.
I don't like it on casual t-shirt. Heather gray. I don't think anything pisses me off more than a heather gray t-shirt.
No, I love a heather blue.
Well, yeah. I like it on these jerseys. I don't think these jerseys are great by any means, but I don't think I think the worst part about them are the black helmets. It's black for black's sake. It's unnecessary. Yeah. You don't deserve it. Indiana Knights, shut up. Nobody talks about Indiana Knights. like at least if it's like Pennsylvania Nights, like you've got a Mac Miller song. Like as far as I'm aware, there's no Indiana Nights song. If there is, I'm sorry. These are the Jets Legacy white uniforms.
Mhm.
Pretty beautiful overall. The helmets look a little weird. I hope they look better in person. We've got the Broncos. Wow. The Broncos throwback helmets. I
do
like
like
them a
that.
lot, and I like the all orange. And then this random ads. But yeah, a lot of really great stuff. And obviously, we're still waiting on probably one of the best of the bunch, and that is the Kelly Green. So,
Change this again.
dang it. So hopefully we get those Kelly Greens soon, so Eagles fans can sleep tight.
Yes. Okay, so we can get to the real portion now.
I don't know. I think that was important.
That was very important because I've been thinking of those Seahawks jerseys every day since they released them. They're so gorgeous.
I
How
just
many
want to see
times
the
are they
Kelly
wearing
Greens.
them? I hope
Probably.
more.
I would guess 2, but I don't actually know.
I don't know. I want it forever.
I kind of wish there were more NFL games, only because I wish they could do stuff like the NBA where they have like 19 different.
Yeah.
Well, I guess more like the MLB, if we're being honest, they actually have like a billion. Like there are seasons where like randomly NBA teams will have like 7 different uniforms, and I love that. But like you just can't do that with the NFL because you've got 8 home games, maybe 9, and it's like you don't want to wear Kelly. Yeah, but you don't want to wear the Kelly Greens in an away game. That's a waste.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, moving on.
Anyway, sophomore jump candidates.
B-ball Paul, baby.
Yeah.
Full circle.
All right, I'll start.
Why don't you start?
Okay, I'm not going to go through my whole list. We can just go back and forth. But
okay,
I guess I'll start. I do like the idea that Colts tight end Jelani Woods will be a jump candidate. He has a new quarterback in Anthony Richardson. It is still a fairly crowded room, but he still managed to score 3 touchdowns and 12.5 yards per carry in a crowded room. His snap share increased in the later parts of the season, and rookie quarterbacks do like tight ends generally.
They do. You're not wrong.
They're just like me.
You like tight ends?
I do. Like I love the tight end position.
Okay. If you say so, Ashley.
Yeah.
Getting a little personal on this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So my first name is going to be a familiar one for any other Eagles fans out there. I promise this should be the last Eagle that I mention, although I might mention another one as a part of this. But Jacoby Dean. If you look basically anywhere you're looking at, big jump candidates for second year, Jacoby Dean is almost always listed there, and there's a reason. Yep. He was projected to be a first-round pick by a lot, maybe a second-round pick if he fell in last year's draft. He ended up falling all the way to the 3rd round, quoting injury concerns, which the Eagles have come out and said they weren't really concerned about. They just, they don't value linebackers, so it wasn't a surprise that the Eagles passed on him when they did. But they took him in the 3rd round. They said the value is way too good. And he's a hell of a player. He's just an awesome he was one of the best players on that Georgia National Championship team defense, that all-time defense. And he was the 3rd of 3 linebackers, I believe, that were taken out of that group. He's undersized, and he's not, a freak physically, and that's the concern there. But he has everything you could possibly ask for in terms of intangibles. He's got the leadership. He's got leadership experience. He's such an intelligent football player, which is just so easily clear watching that Georgia tape. And he's now granted, he's changing defenses this year, but he's had a year to wait behind the wings. He played, I want to say it's 22 snaps in the regular defense last year. That's nothing. Because the Eagles hardly ever use 3 linebackers, if ever. They use 1 probably more than they use 2. And last year it was all TJ Edwards, who got paid by Chicago this offseason, and Kaiser White in that secondary role. When Kaiser White was injured for a little bit, that is when Jacoby Dean played. But the Eagles believe in him. He's the red dot player on the Eagles defense, meaning that he's going to be getting all the play calls. He's going to be setting the defense. He's going to be calling audibles. And they really didn't bring in a lot in terms of competition at the linebacker position. They've got undrafted guy Christian Ellis from a couple years ago, as well as, Davion Taylor, who was a 3rd or 4th round draft pick a few years ago, who got cut last year. Sean Bradley, a 6th round pick from a few years ago. And they brought in Nicholas Morrow in free agency from Chicago, who has a pretty decent NFL career. He had a breakout year 2 or 3 years ago, got injured, kind of had a bit of a he worked his way back last year, but you got a very minimal contract. It might not even be $1 million guaranteed. So like, they're not banking on him being their starting every down linebacker. That's Nakobe Dean, and they've basically said in their transactions that they believe that he can do that.
Yeah. I think that's one of the biggest indicators is that they had a path to add a huge playmaker there and elected not to.
Yeah, and I mean, we don't know what's going to happen once training camp starts. They might think, okay, maybe
not far enough.
We need to add someone, and they call up the Ravens and they send over a pick for Patrick Queen or something like that. I don't know. But as of right now, Nakobe Dean is set to go from playing 22 total snaps in the defense to probably playing every single snap, assuming he can stay healthy. And I'm going to throw this in there just as kind of an honorable mention, and that's Jordan Davis, obviously the Eagles' first-round pick last year. I don't have huge expectations. Defensive tackle is a tough position in the NFL, especially when you're playing mostly a nose tackle to break out in. Like, it normally takes until at least your third year. I mean, Dexter Lawrence didn't really start doing what he was doing, and he was an All-Pro this past year until his fourth year. So I'm not expecting a huge year in terms of like statistics for Jordan Davis, but like for me, it's going to be the eye test of I'm watching him. Is he disrupting and muddying things up in the middle of that of the lines? Is he stopping the runs? And maybe he's flashing every now and then in pass rushing. Like that's really what I'm looking for. But he's just another name in there that I think people have kind of forgotten about because he's still a physical freak.
By the way, I did look it up when you asked earlier. A punter has been franchise tagged, Pat McAfee.
Oh, I did know that. Yeah. Good for him.
Yeah.
I love Pat McAfee.
Me too. All right, so I'm going to jump on my list a little bit. Actually, no, I'm going to the next one. Buccaneers running back Rachaad White. Leonard Fournette is obviously gone from the team, and even with Fournette, White looked really good in the later half of the season. Even like cemented himself as the starter way towards the end. Obviously, Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask are not Tom Brady. The Buccaneers will likely run the ball. Yeah, the Buccaneers will probably run the ball more this season, which lets White get more touches, gives a lot more opportunity to make bigger plays. His competition with the Buccaneers is Chase Edmonds and Keyshawn Vaughn.
Never count out Keyshawn Vaughn, baby.
Yeah. And I just think having their division be at kind of a low point offers them a lot more opportunity to have bigger games in general, with less competition within the division, which obviously makes up 6 games of their roster. So yeah, I really like him as a jump candidate. And even though he started to show that towards the end of last year, I said before he started, classifying a like jump candidate is hard for guys who showed flashes towards the end of last season. But I really think he's going to make a big impact on that Buccaneers room.
Yeah, my next guy is Sauce Gardner. No, I'm just kidding. He was an All-Pro first team last year. Like he's broken out. He's already jumped. He could still get better, but regardless. No, my next guy is actually, ironically, another Georgia guy. Devontae Wyatt, a defensive tackle for the Green Bay Packers. He was, I want to say, a first-round pick last year. He was an early-round pick. But after a year of kind of contributing as a backup for the most part, he had decent numbers, 5 quarterback hurries, 1.5 sacks, 8 pressures. This year, he's going to be moving into a full-time starting role. The whole organization is changing for the first time in like 40 years, at least. No, not 40, but for the first time since 1992, I want to say, the first time in either of our lifetimes, the Packers do not have Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers going into the NFL season. So it's going to be less offensive centric, I would assume. And I think Devontae Wyatt is probably going to be a part of that. He definitely is going to just be, he's a big guy. He's going to be a good run stuffer for sure, but he showed some flashes of pass rushing ability last year, and being a full-time starter, you got to hope that he's going to be able to take a couple more steps in that direction and be more effective long term. And obviously with what they put into him, that's what they hope they can get out of him.
Yeah, nice. I'll submit 2 more probably. Would you still consider Greg Dulcich a jump candidate?
Sure.
Okay. Obviously, the Broncos did not live up to the hype with Russell Wilson last year. I expect the Broncos to look a lot better which is not hard to do. But with Sean Payton at the helm, Payton knows how to run an efficient offense, a passing offense, and that'll obviously help Dulcich. It's still a crowded room with middle of the. It's not that crowded. It's middle of the pack talent. Alberto and Adam Troutman, the Fishman there. But
I love Adam Troutman. Wait,
Dulcich,
he's in Denver?
What?
He's in Denver?
Yeah.
I just said I loved Adam Troutman. When did that happen? Ignore me.
I think he's still there.
He was never.
Right?
He got drafted by the Saints, dog.
No, like I'm saying, like from when I found out he went there.
I didn't know he went there. He was traded. Oh yeah, he was traded. Oh, he was traded during the NFL draft. That's why I don't remember.
Yes. Okay. There we go.
Whoops.
So I still think he clearly stands out. He showed a lot of flashes last year, and I think with the offense improving as a whole, that he obviously will be elevated, and I think he'll stand out amongst the rest.
Yeah, he was good last year. I mean, I like
was.
Greg Dulcich going in. The hope is that Sean Payton likes him as much as everyone else seems to.
Yeah.
Yeah, my next guy was the number 3 overall pick in last year's draft and is oft forgotten about because of the aforementioned Sauce Gardner. I feel like that was a lot of good vocabulary words.
Wow, what have you been reading, like a thesaurus?
No, but that was definitely the smartest sounding sentence I've had in a while. And
Flip it.
on my full-time job, I do a financial podcast, so that should tell you all you need to know about how successful that is.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. I'm not in danger of losing my job for anyone that was worried. But no, Derek Stingley Jr. He's 21 years old. He was drafted 3rd overall by the Houston Texans last year. He started out pretty, good. He was a typical rookie cornerback that isn't named Sauce Gardner. Ebbs and flows, all that kind of stuff. He missed the final 8 weeks due to a hamstring injury, if I'm remembering correctly. But he was pretty good. He displayed the athleticism. He displayed a lot of his traits that got him drafted 3rd overall and why a lot of people, liked him in that conversation with Sauce Gardner. And the fact that they brought in D'Amico Ryans as a head coach, I think is a really big deal. You throw in the added talent that they're going to have just in general on the team. Like, it's just going to be hard to be a less talented team than they were last year. But you bring in D'Amico Ryans, who is just a great defensive mind. He's coached those San Francisco defense to be so good over these past couple of years. I think he's really going to, he's going to see the talent of Derek Stingley and the talent on the team in general, but he's going to be able to really install a scheme that's going to allow Derek Stingley to be versatile and dig into his toolbox and really be able to just blanket wide receivers. So a large part of that is, obviously health, but it's also a large part of it for me is D'Amico Ryans.
Yep. My next guy is Titans tight end Chigoziem Okonkwo, who is an incredibly versatile player. He often fits into a wide receiver mold, and I think that really helps the possibility for him to make a jump this season because the Titans are wide receiver needy. With Treylon Burks having some injury history now and missing games last season, they always could use someone to fill that role. I think he really stepped into it when he started to increase his production in the last 6 games of the season. He was the 5th most receiving yards for tight ends after week 8. So with an offense that hopefully cures some of its woes of last season and is able to, I don't really fully expect them to, but I'm hoping for them to settle a little bit. I'm hoping to see him
signed
increase.
DeAndre Hopkins, so
yes, and I did name like several tight ends. But
you
tight ends,
you named 3 tight ends.
I did. But tight ends,
3 of your 4 people were tight ends.
Yeah, tight
you
ends.
did say you like tight ends. So.
I did, and tight ends oft have rough rookie campaigns, I guess. It's really hard for them to come out of the college programs they come from and come into the NFL. It's a completely different way to play for tight ends specifically.
I do want to point out that you used the word oft after I used the word oft.
Did you? I didn't even realize you did.
Yeah.
You're wearing off.
I'm wearing off?
On me.
I'm rubbing off on you. That's wearing off is not the same. I understand that rubbing off in this situation makes it sound bad, but wearing off, I want to point out you're wearing off on me. Like, no, I
feel like that's what I've always said.
Sunscreen wears off. And then you have to put on a new coat of it.
I don't know. I feel like
I don't wear off on you. You rub off on someone. But
I
again,
don't
not
think
like that.
I don't think I've ever heard that.
Is this like a Pennsylvania thing? Like,
Please don't search.
oh, I can't search that.
Internet.
I'll search wearing off.
Uh-huh.
Wearing off meaning to lose effectiveness or intensity. Yeah, it's not.
I
You're
don't know.
thinking of rubbing off.
I don't know.
I do. Google knows.
Anyway, my last guy, we need to rush through. My last guy was Kenny Pickett.
Great. I'm doing my last guy.
Okay.
David Ojabo. Ojabo. I don't know how else to pronounce his name, so I guess it's that. He was a Ravens edge rusher. He was drafted in the second round last year. He probably would have gone in the first round, but he suffered an injury in pre-draft workouts, which caused him to fall in the 2022 draft and miss almost an entire rookie season. He played a little bit at the end there with getting some meaningful snaps in a Week 18 game, Week 18 loss, but he got a sack. He got a forced fumble, which was cool. But really, this is kind of just an easy breakout candidate because he's got all the talent in the world, and if he's healthy, I mean, they have a thin pass rush in Baltimore, so he's going to have every opportunity to really show out and break out. So that's kind of an easy one based on health.
Yep. Let's jump to regression candidates. So we'll go through this quickly. Kind of have to.
Stop saying the word quickly. Don't rush me.
Sorry. My first guy is Seahawks running back Kenneth Walker. With Zach Charbonnet being drafted, the addition of Jackson Smith and Jigba seems to be heavily investing in the passing game yet again. He had the worst rate of gaining positive yardage per rush out of all running backs last season. I found that stat on FF Faceoffs, which was so alarming to me. I didn't realize it was that bad.
I hope you're wrong. He's on my Scott Fishbowl team, so
interesting. And I think he just has limited upside now.
I think you have limited upside.
I do.
Oh, okay. Well, that went better than I thought it would. I only say that because he's on my Scott Fishbowl team. Yeah, mine's a really easy one. It's Jamal Williams. He scored 17 touchdowns last year, and he really didn't run the ball that well, to be honest. He just has a knack at scoring touchdowns, and everyone loves him. I love him. He's just a great person, but he's probably not going to score. It's like the easiest regression call of all time, right after LeGarrette Blount's, 18 touchdown season back with the Patriots. It's just like, yeah, guess what? He's probably going to score less next year. Thanks. You think he's going to score less than 1 per game?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, easy.
Yep. Mine's similar. I think Austin Eckler will take a step back. He had, a really amazing year last year. I don't want it to happen. I do love Austin Eckler, but I think he's a touchdown regression candidate, which impacts, obviously, overall performance.
I think you should say it in the words that you wrote.
I think he will score less TD.
Yes. Okay. So that was your note on Austin Eckler. Yes.
I think the addition of Kellen Moore as the offensive coordinator shows that they're prioritizing Herbert's growth, as does the amount of money they paid him. They're going to try and have him sling that ball as much as possible, improve his passing game a little bit, and just increase the passing game for the team as a whole, because it's kind of been icky. I don't know, like ups and downs. So I think they're going to try and even that out. Kellen Moore's there to do that. They'll lean on the rush a little bit less than they did last year.
I think you're right with that. But I also thought, why'd you say I know?
I said, yeah.
Yeah, last but not least for me is Tyler Algier. Again, really easy. They drafted Bijan Robinson at 8 overall. Mm-hmm. So chances are he's probably going to get the ball less this year than he did last year because they drafted Bijan Robinson at 8 overall. So I'm really, really diving deep with these regression candidates. But in my defense, I was underprepared for this section.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's okay.
There we go.
That's how I usually feel. So I had more notes this time.
Yeah, I think he will score less touchdown. If only I could be that in depth with my knowledge
really,
and analysis.
Seriously, I think everybody wants that level of analysis, on the TV.
I want that in my life.
I know.
I would love if you could. Never mind. I'm still angry about the whole rubbing off thing. I want to Google it to prove that I'm right, but I don't want to Google.
Afraid to search it on the internet?
I am very afraid now, and it's my own damn fault, but here we are.
Yeah. Anyway, Duncan, where can we find you?
Samantha about to make a pretty bad joke there, so I'm not going to. Yeah, you can find me. Yeah, we're back. You can find me over analyzing every single tweet, report, and snap breakdown about the Eagles training camp. And you can find me on Twitter at mpduncan75. You can what? Why are you saying? Oh my God! You can find me on X. I'm not doing that. I'm calling it Twitter. I'm never doing it. It's so stupid. Elon Musk, you are a
Sounds
dumb
like you're an
idiot.
adult film star.
Yeah, rubbing one off probably. Like, oh my God, I'm so angry. It's so why? Why?
Did you see that apparently he lost between it's huge difference, but between $4 and $20 billion worth of valuation from changing the
I'm
name?
not at all shocked because Twitter is like arguably like the biggest single social media branding in the world. Like,
well, yeah, and like linguistics will tell you like you like being able to say like having like such a culturally significant word like
and that's what
tweet,
I mean. Yeah,
like
it's
people
not the
will
biggest
say
social
something
platform.
and someone's like retweet. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like that.
It's not the biggest platform, but it's had the biggest like social impact.
Yes.
Have you ever read the book Frindle?
No.
Oh. Well,
Tell me why.
Frindle is a book that I read in 4th grade. I had to for class, and it's about a kid arguing with his teacher about what a pen was called. And he's like, why does it have to be called a pen? What if I call it a frindle? She's like, you can't. That's not a word. He's like, every word is made up.
Mm-hmm.
And then he gets the entire school calling it a frindle. And like 10 years down the line in the future, his former teacher sent him the latest copy of a dictionary, and the word frindle is in it. So,
well, unlike that,
you
kid,
took frindle and you threw it in the garbage, Elon. You stupid idiot. If only your elementary school teacher could have made you read. I don't know if it was out when he was in elementary. I know very little about the history of the book Frindle, but I'm pretty sure it was like a red-haired freckled kid on the front of it. I have that image in my mind.
I feel like I can see the cover, but I don't remember reading it.
It is a red-haired freckled. Yep, this is exactly what I remembered the front page being. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, where can we find you? Oh, yeah, I finished. It's fine.
You can find me on Twitter at Ashley_Marie with 2 A's at the beginning of Ashley. Duncan and I on the Undroppables Discord channels, which you can get access to by becoming a patron. You can find us here Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. because we are back. And you can find us by streaming the podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts or watching on YouTube.
Yes.
Yes.
At the Undroppables YouTube. The
Yes.
Undroppables.
The Undroppables. Thank you guys for bearing with us during our little hiatus. We are happy to be back, and we will see you next week.
And thank you for bearing with us during the podcast.
Yeah.
All
We're
right.
rusty. Getting the rust off.
Oh, I just meant because we're us.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll see you next week. Bye, Ashley.
Bye.
Bye, listeners. Go Birds.